Hi, I'm Denice Gierach of the 𝐬𝐩𝐞𝐚𝐥 law firm. This is one of the videos in our series about selling your business. This one focuses more on the area of post-closing employment. So you've sold your business, but the buyer wants to employ you after the date that you closed on the transaction. So what are the reasons for this? One reason is the buyer wants to write off part of the payment for the sale as ordinary deduction to him in the year of the sale or whenever you receive it. The buyer may also want to solidify the relationship with the customers of the business after the date of the sale by having you as the seller make all the introductions and connect the two of you so that they can cement the customer with the new business and the new team. The buyer may also want to have you come with them and stay with them to long-term grow the business and make it bigger. The buyer may have bought 80% of your business, and you may want to take that 80% off of the table, but you're both interested in long-term growth. The buyer brings things to the table that you can't, and so you're interested in seeing where that 20% that you left on the table can go. There are some soft issues that you need to take into account. For instance, you've always been the boss, always making those hard decisions, and everybody reports to you. How do you really feel about reporting to someone else after all of this time? What if you don't agree with those decisions? How do you feel about maybe working harder than you've done for a long time? There's a lot of this to think about. There are soft issues, however, they're real issues to you if you're going to be spending a lot of your time working for this new company, maybe for 3 to 5 years. Another issue to consider is that of your personal brand. If you have a great reputation in your industry that you're in, this may be considered your personal brand. Does working with that buyer's company enhance that brand or detract from it? Are you intending on starting a new business after you finish working with this buyer or not? Did you sell or license an idea to this buyer? Is that an asset that the buyer brought? The usual sale is that you will stay on to introduce the customers to the buyer's team. It may take a number of times where they meet with the customer and you in order to have the customers keep on buying from this buyer's company. You are there to cement those relationships. If that is strictly why you are having an employment agreement or a consultation agreement, you would want to work out the amount of time that you will be spending for the buyer's benefit. And then it may be 20 hours a week for the first 3 months, you may suggest, and thereafter as agreed to by the parties. This should be worked out when you are doing the negotiations for the sale, not when you start doing your work. The buyer's idea of the time that you will start working will definitely be different from yours. So don't forget that you'll want to have some fun with the money that you got from the proceeds of your sale. So don't give yourself too much to do with this new business unless you're actively involved for a long-term reason. So let's say that you agree to stay longer with a bonus in mind. Here are some things that you should consider negotiating in your employment agreement before you sign the sale agreement. First is consider the amount of time that you are thinking of spending or staying with the firm. Do you want to stay for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? Remember that you are working for a company that might have a different culture and that you may be working for and reporting to someone other than the buyer directly. So consider too how the bonus is structured. the simplest way to get a percentage bonus on what you sell. That's the best. From the buyer's standpoint, the buyer knows that you are not a newbie and that they should pay you for a book of business already, or have. They may want to have a floor built in there and give you everything, a percentage of what you bring in above that floor as your bonus. So that's another option. Sometimes the buyer wants the bonus based upon EBITDA. The problem with that is you don't have any control over what goes into EBITDA since you're no longer in charge of operations. The buyer may have team members whose salaries are in there, and those affect what your bottom line is going to be. So since you have no control over those items, your bonuses may turn out to be totally different. And that can take some of the fun out of working for the buyer after you have sold. If the buyer will only do the bonus based upon EBITDA, then you have to really define with specificity what in that agreement, what is included in that and what's not. Because you can pull items out of that calculation that don't belong there or negatively or adversely impact your hard work and getting that right bonus. So what if you leave part of your ownership in the business? In that case, the buyer may keep you in charge of your own unit of the business, and you may be a salaried employee with the normal benefits as a salaried employee would have. Your bonus that you receive may be based upon EBITDA, and now you're in control of that, and other factors such as sales dollars over certain dollar amounts. So your goal in this case is to build this value of this business further, that when the buyer eventually decides to sell, or you decide to sell your portion of it, the amount that you receive is going to be well worth your while for having worked there with that buyer's company for that longer period of time. Now let's talk about a concept I call the 5-year flip. We've seen that over quite a number of years now, and usually there is a private equity group that is involved in this type of a situation. They are either directly involved in the purchase as a buyer, or they are invested in the buyer itself. From what we have seen in the past, the private equity firm is looking at the businesses that could perform better with more capital, or that would be a good fit for another company or companies who are in the same industry, but maybe they have a different product offering or different mix. The private equity firm is usually looking at a 5-year window to buy all of the synergistic companies, raise the level of sales and the bottom lines of those businesses, and then at the end of the 5-year window, sell the whole group to a larger company who is looking for what the private equity firm has to sell. The selling company or companies are now at the level of sales that have a better bottom line than they had before, and are now a part of this larger company where they can grow and be part of this new larger company. So at the end of the 5 years, the private equity firm sells and cashes out. It's in the interest of all of these businesses to grow this so that they can maximize their return. The focus of the equity firm is not long-term. It's really, the long-term is 5 years or so. So if you as a seller are asked to stay on in a business that's acquiring for one of these purposes, be mindful of the fact that private equity owner may not have any direct experience managing companies such as yours, and so they're the management you may be reporting to. And so you need to work out a good working relationship beforehand with whomever you are going to be reporting to after the sale, and determining that the capital and other resources you may need may be available to grow your business. in that case, your bonus may again be based upon EBITDA, since you are in charge of the business. In summary, there are many considerations that you will have to take into account for post-closing employment with the buyer, all of which you will have to negotiate what the terms are going to be before you do the deal. Don't rush in without taking into account all of these things that will impact you after the date of the sale. So I thank you for listening, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.